loaded, I wake.
Whoa! All right, we're excited. Thank you, Jansno, for sending your X50 to Tetride Cycles for a review. We're going to review this bike, and we are going to rate this bike based on 10 different categories. Everything from the tires all the way to the actual final ride ability, or the excitement, the comfort, the ride quality of the bike. So what we're going to do is go ahead and get this unboxed and assembled, and that's part of our reviewing, is the actual packaging, the quality of the packaging, and the ease of assembly. But for that, Ethan is going to take over, and he is going to do the unboxing and the assembly. Take it away.
Whoa! Whoa!
All right, the Jansno, the X50. Wow, what a fun ride. I mean, it's a cool little bike. But again, we're going to rate this off of basically 11 categories we're going to judge this by. And we're going to start off with packaging, number one, and then ease of assembly. So as far as the packaging goes, it was about average. There was nothing exceptional about it. It was an okay box. And everything was well protected with foam and everything. It was just average. It was okay. I think if FedEx or the delivery company would have been a little more rough, there probably could have been some damage. But again, okay. So we're going to rate that at about a 7 for packaging. As far as ease of assembly, there was quite a bit to put together on this bike. It wasn't too bad. Again, maybe just a little bit above average because we had the cool headlights and it's got blinkers and stuff like that. We're going to go over that. We had to mount the seat and a few other things just to really get it going, and I'll get into that just a little bit more. So as far as ease of assembly, I think we're going to go ahead and rate that as a 7 as well. Next, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the motor. Again, this is a hub motor, 750 watt. So it's, you know, it's about average for this size bike. I couldn't imagine a 1,000 watt motor on this bike, but 750 watt fits it very good. I mean, it's not exceptionally powerful or super fast, but it is okay. So for that, we'll go ahead and rate this motor again at a 7. It sounds like we're going, a lot of stuff is meeting 7s on this bike. Next, we're going to move up to the battery here. It easily mounts, you know, you got a little key hole up there for it. And this battery it's using 18 650 cells. It's 48 volt, 12.8 amp hour. So that's a total of 614 watt hours. So it's, again, it's okay for this bike. It's not exceptional, but with the motor battery combination, you should get plenty of ride time out of this. A lot of people ask, how far can I go with that combination? And it's all subjective as opposed to how the rider actually rides. But throttle only, I would say this is probably an 18 to 20 mile possibly bike. Pedal assist, maybe 24 to 26, something like that. Just a guess. Next, we'll go ahead, move up to the display and controls. So the control pad is mounted to the display. We'll press it here, turn it on. So it's just an LCD lit panel, and it's no color or anything. I mean, it works, it's easy to see in the daytime. It's not very easy to navigate through. I couldn't figure out how to change the speed on it. It was set in a lower speed, but what it turned out, well, first of all, I better mention that this did not come with an instruction manual that I could find. Maybe I lost it in the packaging, but I had to reach out to Jansno to get the PDF sent to me so I could actually figure out how to set this. But I still couldn't get the speed, so underneath the seat here, and I'll add a little picture, there's a wire that we had to disconnect to unlock it and go into full speed. So as far as the display and the controls, and it's not very user friendly to know what all the settings mean as you scroll through it. So, you know, for that reason, we're just going to rate this screen and display at a 6.0. We're going to go ahead and go around to the brakes here. We do have mechanical disc brakes on the front and rear. We can see down here, again, cable. I mean, it's a decent little caliper and some good looking little 160 millimeter rotors on the front. And again, kind of the same thing on the back. I'm not a big fan of mechanical disc brakes on electric bikes in general because they are so heavy and they tend to be a lot faster than a standard bike. So I really like to see hydraulic brakes on this style bike, and for good reason, because this bike does not stop very well. I have a hard time, you know, I like to feel the tires lock up if I squeeze really hard, and I can't quite get these tires to lock up. And I come in the warehouse here pretty fast, and I had a hard time really getting it to slow down to, I mean, it works, but it was not to my liking. So for that, just being mechanical disc brakes, we're going to go ahead and give those brakes a 5. Coming on up around to the shifter, again, this Shimano tourney or Alta style shifter, we know when we see this style shift mechanism that this is kind of your base entry level. But for good reason. You know, they're easy to use, they are reliable, they work good, but again, it is very entry level base model. Coming down here to the derailleur, we can see that it is a Shimano tourney, kind of common on these bikes, and a 7-speed cassette freewheel there on the drive motor. So I don't know what tooth front chainring that is, but I get about 23, 24 miles an hour out of this bike before I kind of run out of pedal assist. My legs are moving too fast. So just based on the components here, like I said, nothing to be extremely excited about. Base model, they are reliable, they do work. So we're going to rate that as at a 5 as well. Looking at the tires, we got these big 20 by 4.0 tires, CST, BFT. It's a very common tire on these style bikes. Decent tire. I mean, it doesn't last forever, but they are easy to find. That's what I like about it. You can get them on Amazon, eBay, pretty much anywhere. It's very easy to replace this tire, and they're affordable as well. And they hold up decently, but it is mounted to a spoked rim. I generally like to see on this style bike like a solid rim, because spokes tend to, with that much power, especially if you're taking it off-road and climbing hills and stuff, spokes do tend to get out of true. They kind of bend, or they need to be just trued up every now and then. So not a huge deal, but again, nothing to be excited about as far as the wheel goes. The tire is decent, so we'll go ahead and rate the tire and wheel combination at a 6.5. Overall build quality is fairly decent as well. They mounted the fenders here. It's basically just on a little piece of spring steel, so they kind of really flop around as you ride. The frame itself is a steel frame, it's not aluminum. The welds and everything look very decent, so nothing to be worried about there. I like the battery mount itself. It's actually mounted very well to the frame here, and there's no play in it. It's held on really tight, and that's one thing I like to see is a good tight battery. Front fender, kind of the same thing. They are plastic fenders, but they're just kind of held on with a little spring steel, piece of metal tab there. So I mean, it works, but again, nothing to be real excited about. As far as the front forks go, again, I don't know what style fork it is. There's no lockout or preload adjustment on it, and there is a lot of play between here and the rod and the actual fork where it goes into the tube. There's a little bit of back and forth play like this, and that's kind of a design of just a lower end front fork. But again, we got to remember the price range of this bike is in that price range where it is going to have more entry-level style components. Then coming down to our actual sensor, again, we're using a cadence sensor, which is decent. I prefer torque sensor. Other people do prefer the cadence sensor. I just like the feel of a torque sensor myself, so kind of neutral on that rating. But the overall build quality, we're going to rate this at a 7 because it's not bad. I think it is built well, and everything out of the box was tight, adjusted, and everything worked properly. Suspension, again, we just talked about the front forks. They're kind of an entry-level fork. It does have a spring, shock in there that's okay. Not the greatest, but again, it does work. You get a lot of absorption of the bumps and stuff out of these big 20-inch tires anyways. This is considered a full suspension bike. You can see where it kind of pivots down here, and we got our center shock right here. So the geometry is a little weird on it, but it tends to work. It's not a very good shock, and you can feel some of the road bumps and stuff kind of jarring into you from that suspension. So again, it is a full suspension. It looks cool, but nothing to be real excited about. So I would say we would give that suspension, just based off the components used in the geometry, a 5. So it's a very cool looking bike, but we're going to go ahead and talk about the overall ride experience, the quality of the ride, the excitement of the ride. And it was all okay. It's not bad. It is a fun bike to ride. The suspension's not super good. It is a little rough. It kind of rattles when we do take it off road, but all that aside, it was fun to ride. So we're going to rate the overall ride experience at a 6, just based on the components that are used and how it feels to ride. But it's a cool looking bike, and one thing I can say is that everybody that saw this bike was just like, wow. Everybody was intrigued. I guess just the overall look of it, the cafe racer I guess look. But I mean, the kids, the teenagers, and even some of the adults, they wanted to take it for a ride. So many people has actually jumped on this and test drove it as I was riding around. People were stopping me, asking me about it and all. So it's definitely an attention getter. It looks cool. It's fun to ride. It's just not an exceptional ride quality. So does this qualify for bonus points? Well, let's check out this front here. This is actually pretty cool. The headlight, and it actually has blinkers on the front. So that's kind of one thing I did not expect on this bike. And if we look at the rear, we can see that it does have a blinker on the rear. That's on the right now, but the left blinker also kind of does the same thing. So it does have front and rear blinkers, which is pretty neat. So with that, we can give this a half-point bonus. So the overall rating before the bonus was a 6.2. So with the half point, that raises this overall rating to a 6.7. So not bad for a kind of just an entry-level bike. And we've got to take into consideration the price point. But Good looking bike, no doubt about it, and it is fun to ride. And I think it's going to be very reliable as well. So if you have any questions on that, please let me know. I'm going to go out for some more riding fun. See ya.